Hey everyone, in this video we're going to talk about MicroStrategy news, we're going to talk about Metaplanet news, and we have an important pattern on Bitcoin to watch. Strategy recently bought $450 million worth of Bitcoin, and Benchmark reiterated their buy rating. Now this $450 million worth of Bitcoin totals out to 4,000 Bitcoin, and now they hold 636,500 Bitcoin, or about $70 billion worth. Now we also have news that they modified a certain constraint that they previously had. And normally when the stock is trading at 2.5 times their Bitcoin holdings or less, they're supposed to not dilute shareholders in that scenario. However, this recent modification allows them to do so when it is, and I quote, otherwise deemed advantageous. And as for Benchmark, they reiterated their buy rating. They say it's still a buy and gave it a $705 price target. Going on to say that amid a proliferation of Bitcoin strategy companies, MicroStrategy remains the industry standard and benchmark. And if you like to buy MicroStrategy when its premium to Bitcoin is low, this is a great time to do so. At some of its best points, it has traded at a 3.9 times premium to their Bitcoin holdings, but right now it's sitting at about 1.5 times their holdings. I'll leave that article down below for you guys if you want to read a little more on it. But we also have some Metaplanet news, which is kind of Japan's MicroStrategy. And they have choreographed their plan or their path to expand shares and issue dual class stock. They recently secured shareholder approval to change their capital structure, basically, giving them an easier route to acquire more Bitcoin. Investors approved their expansion of authorized shares to 2.7 billion. And they also introduced a new dual class preferred stock system. And here it is, a Class A share that carries a dividend, offering investors looking for income more stable returns. And then there's Class B, which is a little riskier, but also gives you the option to convert it into common stock. Metaplanet cites this move as a defensive mechanism, which shields regular common shareholders from too much dilution, but still gives them plenty of money for funding for Bitcoin, $3.7 billion worth. And if they do reach this goal in place, it would be $3.7 billion worth of Bitcoin, meaning 210,000 Bitcoin by the end of 2027. Of course, Bitcoin's price will fluctuate. The higher Bitcoin goes up in price, the harder it'll be for them to acquire their goal or reach their goal. You can buy more Bitcoin if it's cheaper versus buying Bitcoin if it's more expensive. At the end of this article, it mentions how they are the 6th largest holder of Bitcoin, and that is quite impressive. I will leave a link down below to this site here. It shows you all the Bitcoin treasury companies. It shows you the Bitcoin that's in treasuries, the amount that's held. 3.7 million Bitcoin is now locked away in either ETFs, public companies, governments, private companies, DeFi and smart contracts, and exchanges. Entities holding Bitcoin continues to rise. In the last 30 days, we have seen 20 more companies basically holding Bitcoin, at 312 now. And here we have Metaplanet, number 6 in terms of the largest Bitcoin holders, which is quite impressive if you ask me. Now, I do want to get to Bitcoin's price, an important pattern that might play out. We might be getting a bounce right about here. If not, brace for impact. But first off, let's talk about these whales. And David Bailey, the CEO of Nakamoto, believes that if we can get rid of these whales, Bitcoin is going to go to $150,000. In other words, another 36% run from here. But we need these massive whales to finish selling. The only reason we're not at 150K right now is these two massive whales. Once they're slain, in parentheses, one down, one's halfway there, it is only up from here. Or up only, I should say. There's a quoted thing, so I kind of messed it up. Anyways, as for these whales, we know them somewhat well recently. There was the one that sold 24,000 Bitcoin, or about $2.7 billion worth, which caused a flash crash right around August 24, and it liquidated about $500 million worth of leverage in minutes. And also earlier in the month than that, we had on August 21 a whale that was buying Ether and selling their Bitcoin off. They sold $4 billion worth of Bitcoin and were rotating a lot of the funds into Ethereum. And we have a lot of analysts calling for not only 150K, but 180 to 200K. In my opinion, once we get close to 150K, I think it's a good time to trim some Bitcoin proxies, maybe even trim some Bitcoin, prepare some cash for some future pullbacks. But I guess it depends on your strategy. Do you like to buy into euphoria or sell into euphoria? But anyways, CEO of Canary Capital, Stephen McClurg, said there's greater than a 50% chance that Bitcoin reaches 140 to 150,000 before the next crypto winter. Alex Thorne of Galaxy Digital believes Bitcoin could reach 150, maybe 180,000 by the end of 2025. And bullish Tom Lee believes that Bitcoin could hit 250,000 by the end of 2025, or a little bit more than double from here in like a couple of months. One thing I wanted to quickly show you guys is we are still near our lows in terms of Bitcoin on exchanges. Despite this pullback in price, Bitcoin supply hasn't really risen much. It's basically at its lows still. What is going to happen when Bitcoin comes back, when Bitcoin breaks back up, starts going towards its all-time highs? This Bitcoin balance on exchange is going to hit new lows consistently. Now, looking at Bitcoin, we talked about this pattern before, this kind of an ascending channel here. We basically bounced right at it. The market is watching this pattern. It also looks like we're getting a reaction on this falling wedge. It might be a false breakout. I'd like to see a candle close out of it, not just this one candle that started inside it. But you know, basically we're either going to break this support line, head to our 200 MA, which is resting at 101,000, or we're going to keep pushing higher and test our 50 MA, which was previously rejected. And you did see a reaction when we broke it. You did see it hold up back here. It basically held up right here as well. You saw the reaction when we failed it. The market is watching the 50 MA, and I do think that's our next hurdle to climb or jump over. If we can break that 50 MA, we are probably heading to the top of this trend line, this channel that we've been in, which would put us right around 130,000. Now keep in mind that typically September is a bad month for Bitcoin. Last year, I believe, was one of the best Septembers Bitcoin ever had, and it was a 7% gain. So we might be in for some rough times. We might be in for a test of the 200 MA here. If it's going to happen, I think it's going to happen in September. Keep in mind that following every single cycle in Bitcoin's history, let me show you, Bitcoin has always topped out towards the end of the year on a peak year, 2017, 2021, 2025. This is the peak year, or it should be following the cycle. Maybe things don't play out like they always have, but we do have the cycle on our side, just to keep that in mind. Bitcoin topped out in the 2021 cycle right in November. Bitcoin topped out in the 2017 cycle right here in December. And when you zoom out, it really doesn't look unreasonable to expect Bitcoin to hit 150K by the end of this year. If our cycle plays out, if we do what we have done every cycle so far in Bitcoin's history, I do think 150K is in the cards still. Keep in mind that last cycle we basically bottomed out towards the end of September at 40,000, and by the end of the year Bitcoin gained about 73% and ended near 70,000. So Bitcoin does have history on its side. I do think there is more of a chance than not that Bitcoin will see 150,000 by the end of the year. Will it get to 180? Will it get to some other price targets like 200, 250? That may be a little far-fetched, but it is possible. However, when we're running to 150, I think it is going to be the time to take some profits, trim, prepare for some pullbacks, get some cash ready. But what say you? Do you like to buy only in fear during crypto winters? Do you like to buy while we're in an uptrend, setting a stop loss or having a potential exit plan if things turn south? What do you think about Strategy or Microstrategy and Metaplanet? They're going to continue to acquire more Bitcoin. In my opinion, a decade from now, these companies will be worth vastly larger amounts of money in terms of market cap than they are now, and they could remain some of the top holders in Bitcoin, among the top 10, with MicroStrategy possibly remaining as number 1. Bitcoin is a very scarce asset, and these companies shouldn't be ignored. Also keep in mind that the Bitcoin miners are among the top holders as well, and as Bitcoin becomes more and more scarce, these companies that hold large amounts of Bitcoin are going to be even better positioned. But thanks as always for watching, guys. Hopefully you had a good weekend. This is going to be a very interesting month with a potential for a rate cut, with upcoming PPI and CPI before our Fed meeting. If we do see some pullbacks throughout September, I do see them as buying opportunities as we get towards the end of the cycle. And if the cycle repeats, we should see things hit their peak right around November, December. And then it's time to rinse and repeat, accumulate during the next crypto winter, and prepare for the next peak in the following cycle. But thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.